know, and I can't let it go, and I can't get And the old woman behind the pink curtains in the closed door on the first floor, she's listening through the air shaft to see how long a swan song can last. And both hands, now use both hands. Oh no, don't close your eyes. I am writing graffiti on your body. I am drawing the story of how hard we tried. How hard we tried. And I am watching your chest rise and fall like the tides of my life. And the rest of it all, and your bones have been my bed frame, and your flesh has been my pillow. I've been waiting for sleep to offer up the deep with both hands. Oh, with both hands.
Hello. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats, dogs, puppies, kittens, lizards, iguanas, goldfish. We like goldfish. What we don't like is snakes. No snakes here. This is a no snake zone. Now that we have established that, my name is Ron O. I am the proprietor, owner, and photographer. Hey, Tori, of Boudoir by Ron O, which happens to be the name of my website as well. You can see that right there. Um, so I'm Ron O. I come in here on Thursday nights and I talk about the things that are going on in Boudoir, and I generally have a topic for the month that has to do with something that is in my newsletter and my blogs and all that stuff, but I'm more than a week behind. I had it all together. I was about to publish it, and my computer crashed and I lost it all. And I just haven't gotten excited enough to put it back up there yet. Because I got to remember, I got to make it all up again. Again, twice in the same month. Can you figure that out? I can't. It's too much for me. But anyway, be that as it may, I am here. I come here on Thursday nights. Hi, Arlene. I come here on Thursday nights. I talk about boudoir. I talk about our topic of the month, which this month is the journey. And I talk about whatever I feel like talking about. It's my time. I'm glad you're here. But hey, it's my time. I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. That's just how I am. Okay. So, if anything you see here or hear here inspires you or makes you in any way want to hear more about it, be sure that you like and follow on all of the dingling social media things that you're supposed to do down here, because that's what they make us do in order to show you things. But so do that. And if you're interested in booking a boudoir photography session with me, there's my contact information. Once again, it's boudoirbyrono.com, info@boudoirbyrono.com, or you can text me at 209-404-0716, which temporarily is my personal phone number because I'm having an argument with my phone service right now. So pay no attention to that. That's my number. Okay. The topic, as I said, is the journey. And we're going to talk about the journey tonight. Because I've got some things going on to me in my life right now that are all sort of making me think about my journey and the journey of my loved ones, and feel just kind of like talking that out a little bit and putting it into perspective. Let me let you know that what puts me in this reflective mood tonight. Today, my mother, who has had some health problems, managed to actually go to her house where my father lives still for a visit this afternoon for at least a few hours in her house. They've reached a point where they're going to be moving into a skilled nursing facility what we used to call a nursing home. And as I said, my mom's had some health problems. This is the first time since February that she's even been home. First time since February she's been in her house. And that's kind of hard to imagine for me, you know? I obviously am not a young man. And, as you can imagine, my parents are proportionally older than I am. And to be 4.5, 5 months out of your house in environments that you don't control at all. Um, she's a fighter. She's doing much better health wise. Um, so, don't freak out about that. She's doing okay, hanging in there. But we, she came home, as I said, she came home today for the first time since February, and it was just for a visit. Um, I'm very blessed to have a sister who is available and um, closer to them to be able to help them through this whole process. Uh, but that particular event, her coming home after being stuck away from her house for 4 months, made me think a little bit about her journey, and as a adjunct to that, my journey. um, she started out in a small town in central New York, married her high school sweetheart, who was my dad. She was the captain of the cheerleading squad. He was the captain of the basketball team. It's all so disgusting. Anyway, come July, they will have been married for 70 years. She has one older brother who moved away. I guess they finally have settled down somewhere near one of their son's houses. But for the longest time, that older brother was an over the road truck driver. Okay. He was driving all the time. Um, and then all of the rest of her brothers and sisters still live less than 10 miles away from the house that they grew up in. Now, I don't think, I don't know what the status of the house is. Both of my grandparents have passed on. Um, but she grew up in a big old farmhouse. She grew up, and part of her job when she was a young lady on the farm was to help my grandpa, her dad, take care of the big draft horses. And they had draft horses long after the rest of the county had moved over to tractors. I mean, they had tractors too, but Grandpa just really liked the big old draft horses. Um, and my mom used to help him move them and groom them and feed them and dance with them. She didn't dance with them. But she was, hi, Big Joy. So she was a farm kid. Okay. Growing up on a farm, for those of you who have never been to a farm, if you're on a farm, you got chores to do. It's that simple. It's hard work, particularly, when she was growing up in the 30s and 40s. There was a lot of manual hard work to farming back then. And that's where she started out. She was literally a hayseed kid. Um, and she married my dad. And the two of them are the only people in that generation from my family that have actually moved away. They managed to get 100 miles away um, from the hometown where they grew up in. And they live independently. They've always been a pair. They've always, always, always been a partnership. Um, but she moved. She left that place, and nobody else in her family did. And because of that, and because of her decision to become a teacher, home ec teacher, but a teacher. My dad was also a teacher, taught junior college, agriculture. And so they had summers off. So they ended up traveling to a lot of places. Every summer growing up, we would always have at least a week where we would go camping as a family somewhere up in the Adirondack Mountains, up to the St. Lawrence Seaway, up to Montreal to see the World's Fair in Montreal, down to New York to see the World's Fair in New York. If you've ever seen Men in Black, I believe it's Men in Black 2, where the bug, no, it's Men in Black 1, where the bug is trying to climb these towers and fly these flying saucers away from New York. Well, those towers were the New York State Towers at the New York World's Fair when I was growing up. It's one of my earliest memories of traveling with my parents. Was going to that fair and going up in one of those towers and being on the observation deck, crawling around on the floor, taking pictures out through the plexiglass. I think it was probably actually glass back then. Taking pictures out through the glass. And that was one of my earliest picture taking adventures that I ever had. And so they got to do that in 1967 when I was 12 years old. I guess I was 11, going on 12. The four of us packed up in a van conversion that we had done ourselves and drove from upstate New York all the way to San Diego. Hi, Sergio. All the way out to San Diego. Went to the Palomar Observatory. Saw the mirror there that had been actually cast back in Corning, New York, which was very near where my father went to school at Cornell University. So we went there. We went to San Diego Zoo. We went to Disney. I went to Disneyland, one, before there was even a Disney World, and two, before they switched over to the idea of an amusement park where you pay an entrance fee and all of your rides are free. Okay, that was a novel idea, came along after I was there. And then we drove our way back, saw the Grand Canyon, saw the Badlands, saw, we didn't make it to Yosemite. I don't recall making it to Yosemite. But we drove across the country and back. None of the rest of my family, my parents' generation, had done anything like that at that point. When my late ex-wife graduated from medical school in Cleveland, Ohio, my wife's family all came out in Western gear because they thought that we were in the wild, wild West in Cleveland. Cleveland's not even Chicago. It's not even a third of the way across the country. People just didn't go the way that we go. So, as I said, she was a teacher. She shaped the lives of pretty much every single young woman in the town that I grew up with for 25 years because they all had to take home ec from Mrs. O. In fact, just this morning, my dad has a new home care worker started just this morning. And that home care worker was one of my mother's students who graduated about 10 years after I did. To see all that, to see the journey of their life, to see they went to Europe several times. They went to Australia, I believe. Um, but they traveled with my sister and brother-in-law a lot. And they got to do all these wonderful things. And now they're kind of getting down to a point where they need some help. And it really kind of hit home, I know, for my sister. When my mom got home, took a nap. We are a family of great nappers. Believe me when I tell you, any of us can nap anytime, anywhere. But my parents got home and took a nap today. And then as soon as she woke up, my mom started in on sorting through the belongings that she has left. 10 years ago, they moved out of the house that I grew up in, that they had built with their own hands, that they had lived in for over 50 years. And they downsized then. Okay. They sent trailer loads and pickup truck loads and sold things off and just did an amazing purge of all the stuff that they had collected in all of the years that they had been living in my hometown. And now they're going to have to go through it again. They're going to shut this house down and go and live in the nursing home. And yes, it's sad for them. It's hard for them. But they understand the idea of the journey. I don't know that I ever heard them put it this way, but I always like to put it as you start from where you are. Hi, Tori. No, Tori is asking if I have any kids. And the answer is no, I do not have kids. Thank you, whoever has joined me on Facebook. Facebook, I can't see who you are unless you comment. So if you feel like commenting, I appreciate it. But no, Tori, I don't have any kids. And that's a good thing. Believe me, I'm just too selfish to share my stuff. Uh, I know that about myself. I would never submit a kid to that. But my parents are starting on another step of their journey in their 90s. In their 90s, they're just packing it up and gonna go do something different again. And it's emotional and hard, and it'll be different, and it will be another phase, but they'll do it. Oh, congratulations. Tari has a daughter who is, what, about 2.5 months old now? Something like that. 2.5, 3 months old. See, when they're young like that, they just measure in such small increments. It's like once you get to a year, it's like a year, 2 years. But when they're months, people get very picky about the difference between 2.5 months, 2 months, and 3 months. Um, so my parents, and particularly my mother, has always been the rock of the family. She's always been the one to say, okay, here is where we are. What are we going to do about it? And that's kind of what the journey is all about. Here's where I am. This is where I am today. Okay. And sometimes it's really good to have a trace of that journey. Okay. I don't have nearly enough photographic evidence of my parents' journey. And I certainly don't have anywhere near enough photographic evidence of my journey. So think about it as you go through your journey. It's hard sometimes to remember that it's a journey. Hi, Mandalorian. I love your posts, dude. I love a guy just showing off sandals. Just great. I love the whole concept. But as you're going through your journey, it doesn't feel like a journey. It's just me. I'm here. I'm here right now. What can I say? I'm here right now. And sometimes it's hard to remember that, well, before this, I was in Modesto for 20 years. I owned a restaurant. I owned 2 medical spas. I was in Hawaii for 4 years, had an independent consulting firm. I was in Phoenix for 3, 4 years. I was in Cleveland, Ohio for 3 years. I have been many, many, many places. And I got to tell you, if I had to produce a picture of me in Cleveland, Ohio to save my life, I could not do it. Of course, they didn't have selfies and electronic phones and all that crazy stuff back when I lived in Cleveland, Ohio. But still, it's important to pause every once in a while along the way. And I don't just say this because I'm selling photography portrait services, although I do sell portrait services. If you needed to know, there's my contact information right there. But but it's not just because I sell that stuff, that I get hung up on this. It's because we're all moving ahead every day. And we have no freaking idea what is going to happen next. None. None whatsoever. In February, my parents were just fine. The two of them living by themselves, having a grand time, big circle of friends. They had a lot of people who were helping them out, getting them to appointments and stuff because they've stopped driving. They were, they were in the town they lived in for 50 plus years. And then something happened health wise. And now their whole world's upside down again. God forbid that should happen to me. Although, what is it? Almost 2.5 years ago now, I took a trip to Yosemite. And when I got on top of the mountain, I found that I could not catch my breath. And I turned out I had blood clots in my lungs. And I was rushed down off the mountain in an ambulance and spent close to a week in the hospital and had to have an operation to have blood clots removed from my lungs. Isn't that weird? Did I know that? Did I suspect that? Did I know that was going to happen? Heck no. Did I know that when I got ready to retire, I was going to be looking at going out and doing photography? Heck no. I thought I was going to be a rock and roll star. That was my actual plan. I thought I was going to be a rock and roll star. Didn't happen. But either way, it's a journey. And the fact is, you don't understand where you are today because you're here. It's like one of those mall maps. All right. So I know they don't really have malls anymore, but it's like one of those mall maps with the big red dot that said, "You are here." Now you couldn't actually see what was there because it was all covered by the big red dot. And your journey is the same way. You can't see where you are in your journey because you're in the middle of that big red dot. Everything seems immediate and everything seems like it's always been this way. It will always be this way. And it won't. Life is change. Change is good. Not all changes are better, but change is good, which is a good thing because everything changes all the time. I don't know if any of that means anything. I highly doubt it. But Tori, congratulations again on your daughter. All the rest of you, take a minute, look around you, put some perspective on where you are in your journey. Look behind you, look ahead, get yourself pointed. Okay? I can't control where I go from here except for one thing. I can point. Okay? I can point myself in the direction I want to go. First step, I may get pushed off course. Don't know that. but I can always point myself in the right direction from where I am now. Start where you are, take a look around, appreciate your journey. In the meantime, you be good to yourself, be kind to other people, and become the person that you would like to meet. Peace out.